haven't had a chance to catch up.
Well, we don't have Joel on here. Really.
Yeah,
He said he's at a meeting. He might pop in soon.
I mean, honestly, yeah, we need him to have the full discussion, but we can start talking about it.
Okay.
I saw your post, and
yeah,
I kind of was having the same idea. I was working through a number of solutions this week.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out exactly how the inheritance would work.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're essentially saying we could, I guess, put things in pre-process, but in the classy theme.
Right. I think that's how you'd have to do it.
I mean, that would inherit down to like Bartek.
Yeah. I think no matter what we do, Bartik and 7 need to inherit off of classes. Is the goal?
Right.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
So what I mean, part of the original idea was just making sure that people who wanted to create their own theme and use Classy as a base could do so, and remove or add any classes they want, and know in an obvious way where those classes were coming from. But I mean, it was putting it directly in the template so that they would see the classes right there, and the template could even just delete them if they wanted to. So, like, if they copy the node template and there's 5 classes put in there, then they didn't want to delete it.
So that's totally what I would like to see. That is what I'm in favor of. Joel is not, so somehow we're going to have to resolve this. I don't know how we make a decision as to which way we go.
So it just sounded like his issue though was with the maintenance of it.
Yeah, I think once we set it up, how many times are we going to change these classes?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't get the maintenance thing. I even went through the Git log for previous versions of Drupal, and the templates, they don't change.
So I think that one thing that's true, I was trying to think this through as to where that would end up being a problem. Let's say that you had a template like the node template that possibly could have a bunch of child templates. So you could have node -- article, node -- story. If you want to change the classes, then you'd have to go into each individual template. Which, if you have 1 or 2 templates, that's not a big deal. I could see if you have like 10 templates that are a child of another template. You know.
Right, but if it's in the pre-process, it'll get all of them.
Right, but if it's in the pre-process, I think you have the issue of tracking down where it gets into the pre-process, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's basically the sort of experience problem that we're trying to solve, right? Is that, pre-process is, if you've worked with Drupal for a while, like you kind of know about it, but it's still like you kind of need to know it's there. You need to know where to look, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have we tried at all for that example of taking like the node and then doing different content types? Have we tried wrapping the classes stuff in a Twig block to see if that would work?
You could do it. I just think.
Like, I'm not necessarily saying we should do that in core, but just sort of, I mean, as a sort of, workaround / best practice / whatever.
You're saying in a completely different Twig block? You mean not in that template?
No, in the same template. So like in your base node HTML Twig, you would wrap that whole wrap that big class of, the big block of classes in a Twig block. So you'd block whatever classes, and then have all your classes, and then end block.
Yeah. So Twig has this concept of blocks. Totally confusing terminology, but it's basically a chunk of code that you want to be replicated without modification in any child templates that are based or inherited templates. And then
I think you could probably do some pretty cool stuff with the Twig has the parent thing. When you're extending blocks, you can also access parent. So Let me just. I'll paste in.
Right. Yeah, it's just like in like OO. You know, you can implement the parent block and then put additional.
Yeah, you can do that, but that would require reworking all the templates, right?
Well, like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think that really needs to happen in core even, because the core stuff is either there. Okay, so there's going to be some level of duplication, right, between classy basically and like the default core stuff, which Stark is inheriting, right? There's going to have to be some level of duplication, markup-wise mostly. I mean, the classes are going to be different. But as far as like core doesn't have that, where you have like a base node template, you have node article, and so on. So I think that's more something that we need to we just need to kind of come up with how are people actually going to do this in the wild, and so that it's not crazy and ripping your hair out. Because like you're saying, Mark, if you have a site with all these content types and you want to change classes between all your nodes, then you don't want to have to search and replace. Like we're trying to avoid that.
It's definitely not dry, right? If it's in the template, it's not dry, but that doesn't mean
because like
there's not other advantages to doing it that way.
If the thing is, like, if we want to sort of support that workflow out of the box in core, then it seems to me like every single template needs to have that block added. But I'm not sure if we should really be. I don't know. That almost feels a little bit heavy-handed to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
So one thing I was thinking about in sort of defending the pre-process idea is that if we do that in classing, right, because now we have the add remove class methods, I don't think that it would be that difficult for someone who creates a sub-theme of classy to then just remove whatever class they don't want.
I was thinking about that if we do go the pre-process route. It's not that bad to remove classes.
So, and I think that would be much easier for themers, because in the documentation it would be very obvious to just say that class is coming out where attributes is printed. If you don't want it, just use this, and just remove it. And I think people can handle that. It would get to it would at least solve the original problem, which is making sure themers don't have to do any PHP. Right?
Yeah.
I think more wouldn't have to create a pre-process function or do anything to get rid of those classes. They can still just do it in the template.
I think it's more of a question. I'm sorry, we're all talking. Sorry about
that.
Go ahead. It's more of a discoverability issue, because I don't think we'd have any instances where we would need to use remove class in any of the core templates, or probably even in Bartik or 7. Maybe, but probably doubtful. So they're just going to have to find that in the documentation somewhere. So it's just.
I'm thinking that you would have classy. Classy would have all the basic templates in it. It would have the pre-process function to add the additional classes that core doesn't have because they got removed. And then if you made a sub-theme, it would inherit all of that from classy. And you could just tell a themer if you don't want the node dash view mode dash dash full class, you just use the remove method and you can take it out.
I think in my mind, like probably the biggest downside, I think, I'm not totally against that, but I think the biggest downside is that it's not add class and remove class is great. Well, mostly add class. Remove class gets tricky because I think most of the classes that are being added are like the ones that are similar to the ones that you just mentioned, David, where it's where it's a dynamic class name. So people have to basically then figure out, okay, I have this class, I don't want it. So now what variables do I use and so on to get rid of it, basically. You have to kind of almost reverse engineer it.
Yeah. I think I was just thinking that in my head too, and I think that could be tricky. Joel,
like unless there's a strict rule that the pre-process has to also create, all the variables for the things that it's building classes from. So like that it would have to have a view mode variable and so on and so forth. But even then, it's still you're still kind of have to go and find pre-process to say, okay, how is this exactly built, so that I can then remove it.
And then if they're in the pre-process anyway to reverse engineer it, then that's kind of, they could just remove the pre-process. So
yeah.
So Joel, what we're talking about is we're trying to talk through the whole classes in the template.
I don't know if he can hear us.
Oh,
he's
okay.
talking, he's like,
he's muted.
Hey Joel, can you hear us? you were like,
sorry, just saying bye.
Yeah, okay. So Mark, go ahead, Mark.
So can he hear us?
I can hear you now.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we've
now I can't hear you. You're saying like
yeah.
So.
You're cutting out.
Mark is cutting out.
this discussion of how we handle classes in the template. So, there's a few.
Oh, we lost you.
Do I have those within the classy theme? You can't hear me? Gosh, why is my internet
Sometimes.
horrible? You can't hear me still. All right. It's
Sometimes
just kind
you're
of
like
hit or miss.
like perfectly clear, and then all of a sudden you just trail off, and then it just drops.
We've got the motion sensor light to do it.
Maybe there's a cone of silence over the Mall of America, which is what I'm right next to right now. So, can you hear me consistently now?
Yeah, you seem to be better.
No.
Talk quick.
No. Okay, so pre-process.
Yeah, you're good. Go on.
We can put it into the classy theme. All right. Pre-process, if we have the pre-process functions, they should go into the classy theme, right? And if you want to keep things dry, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to do twig blocks around the definitions of the classy thing.
Yep.
My question about doing that is whether twig, because I don't think it. My guess is no. So we tell people. RoboMark.
Sorry, what about
awesome.
Twig debug?
Well, okay. So let's say that we do the
You're
twig
good
block,
now. Go on.
the twig block, right? That's a twig. Yeah.
Yep.
This is hilarious. We do the twig block around the variable definition settings.
Yes.
But that's not actually markup, right?
Oh, and also the scope. It would be might not be available to other blocks.
My point is just that when you do twig debug, it might not show that that's where the classes come from, right? Because we're telling people go to twig debug, look at the source code. It will tell you here's where you find where you can change that markup. And if the whole point is that we want to make sure that people can change things, then if you have and we want things dry for child templates, that'd be the only reason you're doing the twig blocks, is for the case of child templates or inherited templates. It's not going to be clear at all where those variables are set and where somebody can go to set them.
And in my opinion, unless we do want to try and solve that in Twig debug, I don't think that's a problem, because if you're doing template inheritance, you need to learn how it works anyway. So they would need to like still use Twig debug, find the template, and then see, oh, this is extending this other template. I'm going to go look there to find where the classes are coming from, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It could. So like I do see what you're saying, but I think that's just part of it.
Yeah, it does get complicated. The situation I was thinking of is, let's say that you're using a, child, like you're in node -- article in a sub theme that's based on a base theme that's based on on classy.
Okay.
Right? So you're gonna have to go up 4 levels. You're gonna have to look up 4 different templates to find where it's set and how you can change it.
But I think in that case, you just need to find the nearest node template, which as long as we're not putting this twig block into core, would be probably in the base theme or in the sub theme. So it's not like it's not like the templates are node extending node extending node. It's just like your node article is extending from whatever active node. Like if we're using like the Twig registry loader, let's say, then it would just be like extends node.html.twig. The only I guess the difficulty with that is that you would have to kind of, I'm not sure how you would figure that out exactly, if you know what I mean. Like if you're coming from Twig debug land, looking at your article node, oh, okay, this extends node.html.twig, which one?
Well, you probably first, you'd check to see if your subtheme has node. You'd look there. Let's say it doesn't. And you look at base theme.
Yeah.
And you find it there because there's some minor modification. But you can see that there's a twig block, so you don't see where the variables are set. So then you look to, you see that base theme is based off of Classy, and then you get into Twig. I mean, it depends, like you said, if we're not using this in core, and this is a strategy that people can just use within their own teams that they created, I don't have as much of a problem about it, because then people can choose what they want. I guess the question is, here's what it boils down to. If what we're really concerned about is that there's duplication when you get into a lot of child, theme suggestions things and stuff like that, and sub-themes, that's really much more of an issue for contrib than it is for core. So do we just want to have some documentation on here's a strategy you can use to deal with that within your personal theme, or do we have to put this into core?
The documentation sounds good. If there's a common problem, it's awesome if it could be documented so that people can kind of look it up if they need to.
And I think also like potentially some of the popular base themes may even come up with completely different solutions of sorts, to this what we're talking about. So I don't know, like I mentioned earlier, like I don't think we can avoid some markup duplication between the core templates and Classy. Or I mean even Classy versus stuff that's different in Bartik and 7. There's going to be things that, like your page template, for example, is going to be different in 7 and Bartik. So we're going to probably, I don't know what we do in those cases. Like I guess Classy still needs one, so we basically would have, I think, 4 page templates in core.
Yeah, but if you look at Bartik, there's not very many templates in it.
Yeah, I think there's 4.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of that's going to happen.
Okay.
It's going to be like a few specific things, and we're already getting template duplication with those things. It's just like there's one additional template.
Yeah.
So.
And I think and the markup's probably different. That's probably why right now it has a template override.
Yeah, and the more that we can eliminate Bartik's stupid markup decisions, I think the better off we will all be, because there's some really stupid markup decisions in Bartik. Like, it's mainly that Bartik tends to use ID more than core does.
Yeah.
And like we should just kill that with fire.
Well, so, I mean, like in Portland, basically the consensus about the core themes in Portland was like, don't bother trying to fix Bartik because it's a whole other thing. Whereas changing the core markup is pretty painless. It's like, oh, change it, maybe do a change record and you're done. Mm-hmm. I mean, other than getting everyone to agree, of course.
Yeah.
I don't think Bartik is even being maintained that much.
No, there's no maintainer, I don't think, on that one. Like, Lewis is on 7, and I don't think there's actually a Bartik maintainer.
Like, yeah, it was Lewis and Morton, I think, that, and Joel was there too, and a bunch of folks were there, but yeah, it was basically like no one there anyway cared enough about it. If someone, cares about Bartik and wants to change it, but otherwise it's just more work for trying to get this done, I think.
So Joel, if we provide good documentation, on how to handle the child template issue. Would you be okay with the setting classes in the template?
Yep.
All right.
Well, Mark, are you still saying do that or do the block?
I'd say we give documentation on how to do the Twig block, but I mean, what Scott was saying was not actually doing that within core, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we have a good documentation page.
I mean, it's something. I think it's definitely something that we need to proof of concept and see that it works, and maybe see sort of how it feels. You know.
So then, but not doing the pre-processing classes.
Right. Yeah. I think just maintaining. Oh.
Okay. So then it would. Then you wouldn't recommend using Classy as a base theme.
Yeah, you would.
But when you add, well, all right. So you still have to copy everything then. All right.
Yeah. Those classes are supposed to be echo here.
Yeah, there's. Does somebody have audio over their speakers?
There seems to be two Scots.
Okay. I'll try speaking. Okay, so there's...
Yeah, you all sound fine to me.
So much echo.
Unmute me.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I don't hear it. That's better. Okay. So, what else? I forgot what the heck I was going to talk about. So, the Classy would be your base template for 7 and Bartik, and it should have some classes in there that are some sane defaults that help those themes along, but they're not going to be in the core or Stark, or I don't know how core and Stark actually work together, but Core and Stark wouldn't have them because those ones you could extend if you don't want to have anything, and then you could use it to build Bootstrap or Foundation or whatever flavor of the day framework there is out there, and you wouldn't have to erase all of the classes to add your new ones in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So I had a patch up, and we just needed to get that clean ID thing in. You want me to revise that patch tonight, and then we can take a look at it and see if it makes sense? I think you had a couple other comments to address.
I think I added a patch after you then had the filters.
Oh, if you did, awesome.
I'd have to look.
Cool.
So we're back to where we started then, is what we're saying, I guess.
More or less. So my biggest concern was the duplication of the classes in the template. But
classes.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant the duplication of the templates themselves.
No.
Like the
What classes are going to be duplicated? What do you mean?
Oh, we have that whole block that was in the previous is now duplicated to each template.
Yeah,
David.
But that.
Can you turn your mic off?
Well,
Up?
you can talk
when you're not speaking.
Sorry, David. So yeah. So Joel, like, are you looking at, like, for example, the same classes being added to Bartik and Core?
That's what it looks like right now in that one patch.
So this is So I guess in the banana version, Core wouldn't be getting those classes. Classy would.
Okay, and so the reason those are in there is so that you don't wreck Core unintentionally, I guess.
Well, they shouldn't be in the Core template.
Exactly.
But like at the moment, so you don't have to test it. Is that the reason?
So the reason is that the Classy template doesn't exist yet in Core.
Oh yeah.
So right now, Core would have those classes in there, but the plan is that once the Classy template is in, then we basically copy all of Core's templates into Classy, and then we go back and we strip out all the classes.
Well, I guess
Classy would just end up only adding classes that it didn't already inherit from Core.
Correct.
Yeah. Because, like, yeah, we mentioned that there's going to be certain classes that are, well, I mean, hopefully they're all data attributes, whatnot, but there might be some classes that are actually needed for, like, JavaScript functionality. So we don't want to break.
That should be few and far between.
I agree. We just don't want to break stuff. But
yeah.
Yep.
I think it should be kind of all templates asterisks, because I think there's going to be some that really don't have any attributes. There's some, weird, silly templates that I don't think should be in Classy if they don't need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last week. Let's just see how many of those templates there are.
Yeah,
and then make a decision based on that.
Yep.
So
I mean,
I think the one thing to reassure you, is that we're talking about the node template. So there's duplication of the class setting in that template between Core and what would become Classy and Bartik and 7. But there's only like 4 or 5 templates that are like that. All the other templates, there isn't one for Bartik and 7.
Yeah.
They just inherit from Classy. So it's
You're
really
coming
like
through very clear
templates.
right now, by the way.
I'm coming through clearly.
Yep.
Yes.
Surprising.
Well, now I'm driving over the Mississippi, so that must be the better place.
Amplification there.
Yeah.
The one other concern that I had there is that we are duplicating them at this point, but essentially you wouldn't have the core one in there because it would only be added to Classy, and then the other ones really don't need it. Like I was saying before, if you put something in core, and we don't fix the other stuff fast, it could land there for like 6 months to a year.
Can I propose something? I think that basically, I know we've been talking a lot about, now that we've got we've been kind of talking about how are we going to approach this, and now I think now that we have add class, remove class, and those filters, we're a lot closer to that. But I'd like to kind of say that probably like our step 0 here is create the Classy theme. Like create an issue to create basically an info file, and that's probably all we need. And then once you have that, then it's a lot easier to say, oh, okay, now we have the Classy theme, so now let's start moving this stuff around.
So
I think there was just concern about trying to do that and get it committed in without proving that we'd be able to get everything else in time, and then end up with this thing sitting there. Although I guess they could just delete it before release if that happened anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the only concern with that is that the tricky part is that there's really 2 parts to this, right? The first part is, hey, we're going to just move the classes into the template, in theory, and that's one part. And then there's moving it into the Classy theme, right? But the second part is having the template that's in core that doesn't have any classes. I'm just concerned that if you make that 1 step rather than 2 or 3 steps, you're going to have a problem of arguing over markup for the core template, and that could slow us down by a lot.
Well, no, the core template, to me that's the whole consensus, is the core template has nothing. If you want that stuff, you just use Classy.
Right, but it's going to be a set of HTML elements. I will bet you $5 that there will be arguments about what those HTML elements should be.
Oh, there's going to be arguments on every single template file. Like, you're going to have arguments on every single change you make in anything in core. So.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
We're not
discussing any markup changes, though.
Yeah.
You are if you pull all the classes out of the core templates.
Sure, but we have at least banana level consensus on doing that in core, and then like we were saying, like if you want those, you use Classy. If you want some of those, you use dot add class or whatever. So I think
I agree. It's getting that template in core would really help out, because first you get it in there, it's empty, doesn't do anything, it's like just dummy. Then you guys can kind of decide on how to move the Bartik and 7 generic stuff into it.
Because I
and
think
then avoid having it duplicated in those templates.
Yeah, because I think if you don't have that info file in there, then every other issue is going to have to add that info file and then eventually remove it. So, and you know, like David was saying, the classy info file.
I don't understand why every issue would have to do that.
Well, if you want to actually be able to test those. Well, okay, like it's more than the info file. It's making the info file and then making 7 and Bartik inherit from those, from classy.
But you don't need to do that if all you want to do is move the class definitions out of the preprocess into the template.
Don't you?
No.
No, yeah, step 1 was just moving them into the template. You can do that and maintain all existing functionality.
Right. Because all the inheritance still works exactly the same. It doesn't change inheritance at all.
No, but wouldn't you then have to, if you're like,
You'd have to add those. You'd have to add them to Bartek.
Yeah, like you'd have to have a straight up copy of, you know, whatever the item list template in Bartik and in 7.
Nope.
You just have to add the class.
Or are you talking about just keeping?
Oh, in with core.
Okay, so you're talking about just moving them from pre-process, so making it like a 2-step process where step 1. Okay, I see what you're saying, but I kind of question why, because it seems like that would take longer. Whereas you could just set up the classy info file, make Bartik and 7 inherit from that. Oh, Mark dropped off. Mark is back. You could set up the classy info file, make Bartik and 7 inherit from that, and you can still move stuff around, but then it would be like, you're done. No?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So what I was saying is that if you just do the place that you change the classes from pre-process into the template in core, if Bartik and 7 don't have their own custom version of that template, you don't have to change anything in terms of inheritance because it still works exactly as it used to. And then later you go back in and like do all the moving things over to classy.
Okay, so where does that leave us if we don't get to phase 2?
We have classes defined in the template and not in a separate file. And there's no way to do the classless Drupal. But I'm just saying, I think anytime that you have this discussion over put in what markup actually goes into core once you move the template over to classy, I think you're going to have a discussion on it, and that's going to slow things down. And so that reduces the possibility that we get the definitions of classes and templates versus pre-process. Do you know what I mean?
I'm still not understanding what discussion you're talking about regarding the markup.
Oh, we lost him. Or maybe we lost me. Oh, I'm still here.
Now we have 2 Davids.
Dropped down for some reason.
Which markup? Who are you referring to, Dave?
Sorry. I keep having phone problems. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So right now, there are dynamic classes that are added in via pre-process. classes that are like hard-coded into the template. If you look at the templates, like anything, you'll find that there's classes that are hard-coded into the template. Those will all get pulled out, right? If you have a version of the template without classes. And the only thing that you have to go by is HTML elements. And so there may be wrapper divs, for example, that don't serve a purpose anymore. There's just going to be, I really think that there will be some discussion about what is the actual HTML that we want to have in that template when there's no classes there at all. So,
Mark, the idea at first would be to not change the markup until we're done moving it over. So I don't think that discussion should be even happening until that's been moved over and consolidated underneath that one. So you'd leave it alone, because that way you can actually get the change fixed without having to bike shed how you're going to change it on the route. You know.
That's what I agree with. That is the way that we should do it. But the problem is that if you create classy first, that's what mixes those two up. Because if you create classy, the reason why that's important is because once you create classy, any theme that's out there that hasn't manually changed over to be based off of classy will suddenly lose all of the template markup that it was assuming based on core, right? So I don't know. I don't think
we have the same problem right now if we change cores templates and we haven't made an extension inside of 7 or Bartik. So if we change any of the cores templates, we affect those two because we haven't extended those ones or overridden them.
Yeah.
So the problem would lie. That problem will happen regardless.
I think I don't know. I'm just thinking you're right, Mark, that as soon as the sort of reshuffling happens, that contrib themes and custom themes that people are building already on D8 are going to break. But wouldn't it be better to do that sooner? Or are you just more concerned about the discussions and all that?
I'm just concerned about the discussions, really. So I have to leave.
Okay.
But I don't know. My suggestion is let's first just try to figure out getting this patch in for moving the pre-process to classes for Node. See how that works.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
I'm more partial to that. I just didn't really understand.
Yeah.
Mark, could you send us an example of what you were talking about?
I'll write it up. I'll write it up in the issue. But I gotta go right now.
I know what you're saying, but I'm just trying to think of one particular template that we're going to end up talking about because it gets the one class it has stripped out or something. So we can think about it.
I'd have to look through the templates. I don't know which one, but I gotta go. So I'll make a new patch, or maybe there already is a patch, and let's try to get that in, and then we can keep moving on to other templates to do that sort of thing. So.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Later. So, yeah, I mean that seems good to me because it is more of a baby step approach, and as long as we can, kind of pick up some velocity with it. But I think for now it would probably make sense to focus most of our efforts on getting this node one in, because once we get one in, then it's going to be a lot easier, unless, like we were talking about, a couple weeks, unless we have to kind of get them all ready, a la Twig.
I was thinking we'd end up having to do them all in one shot, not just one here, one there.
So it's that's sort of where I maybe come back to the, if we almost have to do it all in one, do we also combine the reshuffling with that so that it's just it's like, okay, everything has changed, not like, okay, this little part has changed, and then, now you have to use this base theme. I don't know. Maybe the base theme thing is not a big deal, but it seems like...
Yeah, you're trying to just avoid moving so many things in one shot.
Yeah.
Because we could move from pre-process to the templates, still maintain functionality, and that would just be like one big change.
Right.
And then we could add classy and make Bartek and 7 be sub-themes and like do all that in one change and continue functionality.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that seems reasonable because it would be I think it would probably be quicker to do that. Just get that one part. I shouldn't say just, but get that one part, done. So, having said that, like, do you think that we should try and get Node RTBC and then, like, I mean, my feeling is that, it'd be probably good to ping, like, an Alex Pod or Webchick or someone.
Yeah, that's when I had the discussion originally was about whether it should just be a mega patch.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're going to want to sit there and say, all right, let's set a time and sit down and go over these 35 issues to commit all of them. I think we could do it in individual issues.
Yeah.
Then just combine them into a mega patch and stick the mega patch somewhere else, and they can just commit that. And if it needs to get re-rolled, just re-roll the mega patch.
Do we have a meta for this? Well, other than the banana, I guess we could probably use the banana for that. The banana consensus.
Yeah, I think that's what we're doing, aren't we?
I would probably, so what happened, when they commit, I guess it doesn't matter. You can get more than one commit on an issue, right?
Tons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
It's not very nice, but yeah. I mean,
like... have to leave that meta open.
I don't know, like, the other thing, too, is I don't generally encourage this, but technically we could just do a bunch of work in the sandbox and then start to pull that out into issues, possibly. The only thing is it's kind of ends up being a little bit more closed or limited because the issue queue, anyone can just jump in. If you have something tagged novice with good instructions, then, random people will come and help, so...
I've seen people do it on GitHub as well, but I'm not sure how that...
You can post patches in the sandbox.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
So
it's just like, it ends up being a little bit more closed off because people, if it's just in the core queue, people will just find it, but if it's in its own sandbox, people, unless they know what they're looking for,
Well, that's why we were also saying do this as one step, because it's much easier to sort of do everything quickly, right? Because there's no discussion.
Yeah, you can mass.
We're sticking it there. There's nothing to talk about. There's no argument over markup. Look, once the path was finalized, it's rinse and repeat 30 times for all these templates.
Okay, so yeah, I think I see what you're saying, Joel, where if this is like a two-step thing, then the banana meta almost needs like two child metas.
Yeah. One for getting the classes into the templates, and the other one for consolidating into classy all the stuff.
Yeah, and then stripping everything out from...
I think that's also fine, because then in that second meta that's just discussing moving the stuff out of preprocess, in that issue, separate from that bigger banana issue, is where everybody can argue about how to split it up, the work, and how many whatever.
Yeah.
So that we don't have 5,000 comments on the actual banana meta issue.
Yeah.
I think that would be good. Then you can also, on the one meta, you can kind of list off all the ones that need their classes moved in. So kind of make a hit list for issues.
Yep.
So then people can know where to start, look for those things if they want to help out. And then the other one you could, the other one is kind of like, this is postponed on meta 1.
Yeah.
Preprocess templates.
Right.
Which is essentially the same methodology for other major changes where people have been making like multiple stages. This is stage 1, or phase 1, this is phase 2, this is phase 3.
Like the menu thing, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just doing it that way.
And these patches are going to be pretty small, like on an individual basis, so we have that going for us.
Yep.
Because like I think we basically made most or all of the API type changes that we will need to make. Not even
Except
API, like the API additions, like add class, remove class, the filters, that kind of thing.
Except for the ones I want to make. The one thing that I'm still, I actually kind of like mentioned that it might be related to the banana stuff and classes and stuff is we're defining this attribute object inside of the preprocess in core. So that's kind of where we're making the structural definition of when a template's going to expect this thing coming through, right? But we have this attribute object that's always there, but it's always an array until it actually gets sent to the template. And I'm trying to get rid of that one.
Yeah.
And I would love if I could actually, because hook theme defines what the template's expecting in terms of variables. And it also defines what the renderable array can accept as well, so that it knows that if I pass something here, then my template is expected to most likely render something out of this variable. So, for example, if it's attributes, then I have a render array and I can pass in some attributes to it, and I expect that template will likely use those. Well, they don't have to, but there's a good chance. So I would love if I could say in my theme hook that I could define that attributes key is an array, an attribute object right there, instead of saying it's an array or saying it's null or something. So I don't know if that's possible. I know that's really going to be really hard with render elements, but for variables, I would love to see if that could work. Render elements, I have no idea how to, because it's so generic.
Yeah, I think you just blew my mind. I don't know how you do that.
Because if I just instantiated an empty attribute object, it would be defined in the theme hook, and then
like new attribute.
Yeah, new attribute done. It's empty, doesn't do anything. It's just sitting there, and it might actually improve performance a little bit because you're not doing it on every preprocess. Because like Fabian was saying, it does take a little bit more. It's faster to clone than it is to create a new blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it might be better if we could do that. And then on top of that, we're saying yes, this template expects to have an attribute. Therefore, I don't have to instantiate it inside of a preprocess, because that's what we have to do right now. So we're instantiating them all on a preprocess level, or we're generically hoping that attribute, the one key, has, well, it's always there right now. Attribute, title attributes, and content attributes are automatically always turned in, except for if they don't have anything in them, then they're just returned as nothing or something, or default attribute. But so those ones are always expected. But like anything else, field underscore attributes or whatever other random set of attributes, there's no definition for those coming to the template, so there's no way to expect that. There's no contract saying that those things are going to be there.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Can
it would be nice if
for this and like write it all out.
I have that issue. I should send it.
Because that hook theme thing is new. It's very intriguing.
Oh, I mentioned it in the last comment. I think I mentioned it in the last comment on that content attributes one when I was talking with Fabian earlier.
Okay.
Where is that one? Remove specials, case, blah blah blah, something. That one.
Yeah.
But I think I need to do the whole 9 yards. I can't just do the two ones that I don't want to see in there. I did get it working though, and it does clean up the code quite a bit because, yeah, you expect. We always had this issue since like.
Oh, I haven't seen these new comments.
They're long.
Oh man, yeah.
But anyways, the last one, you expect something. The last comment that I put on there is kind of like the main DX issue, is that attributes only works because we expect it to be an array until it's not an array. And it acts like an array even when it's not an array. So if you put it as like, if you don't initiate it as an array and you just start adding classes to it, it'll break because it's like indirect modification of a blah blah blah.
Oh yeah.
Because it's an object, not an array. So you have to instantiate it. But if you instantiate it, or if you initialize it as an array, you've clobbered anything that came before it. And we've done that by accident, and we've also done that on purpose in certain cases. And it's hard to tell what was meant in that certain scenario.
Yep.
So a lot of these things I'm hoping would be mitigated. For variables, anyways, I think I can do it, but I have to give it a try. If I could put it in the hook theme, and not in the not as a key checking thing inside of underscore theme, I think it is.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, there's an Alex pot. It's late there though.
But anyways, yeah, I think I might have to go the full 9 yards on this one, even though it is green and it looks better. Fabian gave thumbs up. Still want to process or what do you call it? Profile it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But he says it's not important. The profiling, even though we could provide profiling, it's not important for whether or not this goes in, and the DX kind of trumps that. So he gave the go-ahead on that one. And
cool.
the actual performance wasn't that bad last time I checked. So
cool. Yeah, I think it wasn't that bad. So I don't know. I think.
Do you think it would be possible to do that, like instantiate it inside of the hook theme? And
like the thing is, I think that like hook theme is not run on every page load.
No,
because it's all compiled into the theme registry.
And can you alter hook theme? Is there a themes alter?
Hook theme alter?
Yeah.
No, not that I know of. I think it's just registry alter.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Oh, but registry alter would allow you to change the hook theme, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Well, there you go.
Kind of. I mean, the like resulting stuff.
Yeah. So if I was in core and I, for some stupid reason, decided to put like a class in the attribute in the hook theme, I could from somewhere else totally remove it.
Oh, like a default class. Yeah. You can take that out, I think.
Yeah. So then, sweet.
So then, sweet. Yeah, I don't.
Just in case somebody does that, Nobody would do that.
I think maybe. I would maybe suggest that we could maybe sync up the sandbox, like rebase it against 8.0.x and maybe keep working there for a little bit, because it would be nice to maybe outline our plan to a core committer type person, and see if there's any major objections or any kind of alterations to our plan.
Does that sound good, Dave? David? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm just trying to think of when the last merge on that happened, but yeah, we can pull it in and just play around.
Yeah. You were working on that one last, or somebody else? I haven't touched it in a while.
We touched it, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Probably.
And before that, it was Sean, I think.
Yeah, it definitely, when Chris pulled in the latest changes when we were in DC, so that was like 2 weeks ago. Okay. So it has a branch that's recent as that.
Cool.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess it depends on, like, so are you thinking about doing the full-blown thing? Like,
2 metas.
Functions, add the theme, any other changes you want to throw in there?
I think we should maybe scope the sandbox for now to just step 1. And then, I don't know. I was going to say maybe a different branch, but that would be really hard, I think, to maintain. Unless, because the files would be moved, I don't think.
Yeah, file moving is harder to rebase whenever there's any changes. Yeah. So if you did the pre-process stuff, it'll be a little bit easier to rebase against. So if we kept it to number 1 first on that sandbox, we could kind of mitigate any problems when we're re-rolling it or whatever, rebasing it back to keep up with head.
Yeah.
Right, but phase 1, we don't really need the sandbox for.
Not really, but it would be nice to just kind of do it all at once. But we can apply all the patches from all like the meta, just to see them all go in at once.
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying long term to use the sandbox, but just like for the next. Unfortunately, like I don't have time tomorrow, but it would be nice to get a dialogue going with some of the core maintainers soon. I just this week's been crazy for me. Crazy.
Well, we can certainly do that at least as a proof of concept to make sure that once everything's moved, like nothing's breaking.
Like I can even maybe as well, like I can even maybe ask Mark if he wants to, because he's online during the day sometimes. So maybe I'll do that for now. I'll just I'll shoot Mark an email and just ask him if he wants to kind of run by the two-phase plan by like WebCheck or AlexPot kind of thing. We just need them to know what we're doing and at least tell us like, yes, you can do this, or do it this way, because I just don't want us to do a ton of work and create all these issues and stuff and then find out that there's something fundamentally that is not going to kind of pass muster or whatever.
Yeah, well, we did that with the Twig theme conversions and the template conversions, and yeah, just making sure that they're in the loop so that they know these giant metas are popping up and what the hell's going on. Yeah,
because I mean, it's just better to give notice than like to create, suddenly have like 40 RTBC issues that they don't know anything about the parent meta issue,
So yeah, Mark would probably be good to grab on that one. If I see them, I'll try to grab them too.
Yeah, for sure. I just know that Mark and WebCheck.
Mark is back.
He's back? Mark is back?
I see him back.
Oh yeah, I see Mark.
Hey.
Hey Mark, I was writing you an email.
Oh, well.
So you're here.
I came back.
Okay, so basically, I just started the first line of it. So basically, we were just saying, like probably what we should do now that we have. I think we've all agreed on sort of the two-step plan. Do you got to go?
No.
Okay.
I just couldn't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we've pretty much agreed on the two-step plan. So step 1, move classes from preprocessed to template, no other changes.
Yeah.
And then step 2 is the classy restructure, blah blah blah. Strip out the core classes. So we have a pretty good write-up, in my opinion, from John Albin on that banana meta. So we have that, and then we have sort of the two-step plan. And I think what we should do now is talk to AlexPod or WebCheck or whoever, and say, here's our plan. What do you think?
Okay.
And I kind of, I kind of nominated you, Mark.
Do you want to talk to them? You want me to talk to them? Okay, I'll do it.
I mean, like if
I
you're
did
cool
have
with
one
that.
other thought.
Sure. You're going maybe robot-y.
I hate the robots.
Well,
can you hear me?
I think you're good now. Go for it. I can.
Okay. So the classy theme first, right? Can you hear me?
Sorry, say it again.
1 second here.
Sure.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there's a slight bit of robot, but you seem okay.
All right. So classy theme first. What you could do is you could move the classy code into the classy template and leave behind the markup in core, which is exactly the same except for you move the classes. So you just say right, like we are just moving things over and removing classes. And if you want to change the markup, you do that in a separate Dream markup issue.
Yep.
Because that would save a step. Because
yes, we're avoiding all discussion of markup.
That's similar to how we've done the Twig conversions. We say you can't change the markup.
Yeah, that's not the name of the game. So yeah, I think that's almost like a plan A, plan B in my opinion. So I mean, like Mark, as long as you're okay with talking to the core committers, like feel free to present whatever you want. And
I met Alex this last weekend, so that was cool.
Awesome. Alex is great.
So anyhow, I'm just thinking that might save us like half the issues that we have to do, because how many templates are there in core? I mean, there's got to be what, 60, 70? At
least a lot.
If we have to do one issue for each of those conversions, like if we have to do that twice, that's a lot of issues to get committed.
Yep.
And I'm not sure that they're going to be a huge fan of that. So if we can keep that as little as possible, and also that would allow us to get down to the no class version as soon as possible so that other themes can adapt to that and hopefully switch so that they're based off of classy.
Yeah, we should definitely be mega
we need contrib themes to do that as soon as possible.
Yep, I agree. We have 214 Twig templates in core. I mean, some of those are tests and stuff, but
yeah, that's a lot. Are there any of these that we can do as bundles, or do they each need to be a separate issue?
Oh no. We will be killed if we try and do one issue per Twig template.
It might be easier to look for attributes where they're getting set up in pre-process functions. Therefore, you can kind of eliminate a whole bunch of templates that don't even have attributes.
Yeah, that's maybe one possible benefit of the two-phase is that there would probably be less templates that we actually have to touch. Well, templates and pre-process functions. Because, I think Joel's right that there's a lot of these weird kind of just random templates or like kind of one-offs that they don't really have any classes. They're just kind of hanging out. So we wouldn't have to do anything with those, whereas, well, I guess classy, we wouldn't have to do anything for them for classy either if they don't have classes. So, yeah, same difference, I guess.
All right. I'm guessing they're going to like that plan better. And then that, because all the other contrib themes have to do is just put in one line to their info YAML files that says, set your base theme for your base theme to classy.
Yeah.
Also, if we're going to do this, we actually have to, not that we need more bike shedding, but are we actually calling this template classy?
No.
This theme?
No.
Do we need a
should call it something like
discuss what to actually call it, but I'm totally on board with calling it classy.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I don't care too much. I mean, we
but
can call
I think the name actually makes sense.
Should call it Sophie, like a synonym for classy.
Yeah, but you have the stripped down. Stark is going to be the stripped down one. Classy is going to be the one that's not. Yep. Their names are paired. They make sense based on their functionality. I mean, I think it actually works.
Yep. Yeah, we don't have to call it Longhorn or whatever.
Yeah. Or Spanky.
Oh, we lost Mark. Mark! That actually worked.
Hello.
Oh, okay, you are back. I thought you went. I was like,
Mark!
So
here's the fun thing. Since I'm on my phone, if I get a phone call, it drops me from Google Hangout. I don't even have a choice to decline the call. It drops me. So.
I at one point I accidentally hit the little clicker and it played my music and kicked me off the Hangout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you figure out the name in the 3 seconds I was gone?
Yep.
What's it called?
Classy.
I kind of like the name Classy. It's grown on me.
Yeah, David was saying. I think you dropped off, but David made a really good point where he said it's sort of, especially when you put it next to Stark, it kind of is indicative of what it actually does.
Right.
Yeah, like in a way. I mean, if you're doing theming, you know what classes are anyway. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm fine with, we just need to make a decision. So I'm fine if we call it Classy.
I say when we create it, we call it Classy, and dare someone to make us change it.
We could just do it. We can try and do it quietly, or we can create the bike shed issue now.
Let's see if we can get Classy in there.
Get it committed in, and then it'll be harder for somebody to get us to change it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because once it's in there, every contrib theme would have to change. Like they're gonna have to change it for everything.
Yeah, anybody that's using it.
And actually, Mark, that kind of, well, everyone, that kind of gives me maybe another thought as to how this can be presented, because if there is a worry about contrib or custom themes losing all their classes, we could basically add Classy now as one commit, and then basically send out like a bulletin and say, hey, add this if you don't want stuff to change later.
Well, I think you're more likely, maybe more likely to start getting the bike shed if we try to add Classy and it doesn't have anything in it and there's no functionality.
I don't know. I mean, we probably have to do that at some point, unless we do like some kind of crazy mega patch.
What was your thoughts, Scott? Your thought?
I'm good with that too.
Yeah, I mean, Classy. We can just have Classy would just go in phase 2 in the same commit with making Bartik and 7 be the sub theme, and then it's kind of stuck that way.
So yeah, I guess that idea is more of for the plan B maybe. So if we're going with plan B, which is basically do everything in one step, then it's almost adding like a small step in front of that to say, since we're trying to get a beta out the door and all that kind of stuff, and presumably once the beta is out, then more people will start making stuff. So the idea is that if we're going to just change everything in one fell swoop, that we can at least give people more advanced notice so that they're not upset when things change / break. So again, the idea is like, add Classy, which is just an info file, and then if you are a contrib theme or a custom theme and you want to keep all those classes, you just add that one line to your info file and carry about your day, because it won't do anything until all those changes happen, but at the same time you would maintain the current set of classes and markup and all that stuff. Can
you hear me, Scott?
I can.
So what was the big thought that you were saying, and then I dropped off again?
So basically, to me, it would be more for the plan B, where we're doing everything in one fell swoop, where potentially that could take us longer to do all that. So if we can get classy.info.yaml in and tell people, if you don't want stuff to change, add base theme equals Classy, and then just carry about your day.
Yes, yeah, put that out there and put a change notice out there for it.
Exactly, yeah, because it's almost like and that sort of has another benefit too, like from the core committer perspective, because if our grand plan doesn't work out, then we can just remove that.
Yeah.
So
well, and the beta is about to start, or a beta is we're almost a beta, right? Like the beta blockers, there's like, I think we're down to what, 1 almost? There's 2, but 1 is like ready. It's RTBC.
Oh yeah, you're right. And well, there's one postponed.
So it's better to get this in before beta, I think, because that's a signal to.
Well, it is, yeah, it is like an API change, but it is, I guess it is also kind of committing to, the plan. It's just not necessarily saying, yeah, it'll be done tomorrow. It's just sort of saying, prepare yourself for that sort of API change.
Right.
Or extend from
So I
parking.
know it's an option. It's an option. Throw it out there.
Yeah. All right. I will track down Angie or Alex and run and by them. So.
Cool.
Mark, if you're doing that during the day, let me know because I'm usually online during the day.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I try to be online during the day too. So. And Angie's been around lately, so that I bet we could probably get Angie's take on it.
Cool.
Yeah, I can. If you want to talk tomorrow, I can ping her tomorrow.
Yep, for sure. I'll spot you on there when I'm on there, and we'll team up.
Yeah, I mean, she might even want to do a call with you guys. Just whatever works.
All right.
She usually has a lot of other calls, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta work like a 10-hour day or something tomorrow.
I'm super happy. I thought we wouldn't get consensus on this, and we'd be bike shedding this forever. So I'm really happy.
He just updated the branch in the sandbox.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Cool. You guys rock.
Yep.
Okay, good. So I'll talk to you tomorrow, Mark, and we're gonna leave because we're going to our meetup, which we're an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that.
So I was supposed to talk.
All right. All right. Cool. See you guys later. Bye.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Cool. So are we still? Oh, is Joel